Growing up in California, I've always wondered one thing. What the heck is happening in Maine?
Just drive.
We're lost.
We went to a random bar called the Flask Lounge, and it was hip-hop night. It was perfect. Exactly what I pictured, actually. The people who were there were getting it, though. It was incredible. We got an Airbnb on the Mainiest street we could find. It looked like Family Guy.
It is Tuesday morning, and we're about to go have some breakfast, and then we're going to do a little boat ride. So I'm excited. It's looking really beautiful out here. I can't wait to see what the day holds for us. Hey, ready to get the day started?
Yeah, mainly.
Oh my God, bye.
Took this long. Now we can't have breakfast.
Oh, wow.
It took 3 hours.
It did not.
Yeah, okay.
We headed to Long Wharf, where we saw some really cool historical pieces, including a piece of the Berlin Wall.
I know it's random, but I'm a huge fan of lighthouses. We got on a boat tour that took us around Portland's coast to talk about them. There's so many. Maine is known for their seafood, and the chef on board made fresh lobster rolls for us. We were the youngest people who were there by choice. We like doing retired people stuff sometimes.
Pat is obsessed with lighthouses, so he got a nice view of several of them as we sailed around the city.
Even though I was dressed like Bill Murray, I was having a great time.
We're out here on a little cruise around the harbors of Maine. We've seen a bunch of forts and lighthouses. It's actually really cool. How you feeling?
Good. Anchored.
We got a chance to visit the Bug Light, a tiny lighthouse in South Portland.
We lighthousing it up. This is the small chody one. But I like it now.
Kind of thick though.
It is.
Low key.
Girth. Lighthouse got girth.
Caution, slippery when wet. We stood on a floating deck, and I can't say that I was comfortable with it. My knees were shaking. Next, we went to the Spring Point Ledge Lighthouse, which has a really spooky vibe to it.
That's how I know we tripping. He's like, get out of here. Hurry up. Run. coochie coo. No, it's not real. What?
Hey.
What are you doing?
And just like that, all we had to do was go through the forest and the ancient ruins. Up the stairs, down the stairs, through this Civil War park. And then that's how you get to the lighthouse. It looked way too dangerous.
We were not gonna risk being swept away by the seven seas.
Oh. Gotta be kidding me. We went to hang out by the cannons instead. It's crazy to think that Maine had it on them like that.
Spooky lighthouse.
We crazy as we
Hanging out where cannons, where they used to attack ships coming through. Really jig it. Yeah. Shoot the cannon. Got it.
We ended up going to a seaside restaurant called Shipyard that had live music. We had some fresh New England Clam Chowder and some crab cake burgers. So damn good.
Tom Cruise pulled up to cut a rug with Persephone. They were juking and jiving.
Afterwards, we roamed Portland and found some cool bars with secret entrances.
Anyone who knows me knows I love a good bookcase entrance.
That bar must have really been exclusive because they kicked us out immediately.
We found a sports bar called Gino's that had an interesting sign out front. We were okay with these rules though.
Defense, let's go. Defense is a good defense. Come on. Bend it like that. Bend it like that. Oh, no.
You are missing it. 70.
Just a pass.
There were all types of games in there. It was a great random time.
We walked back to the crib, as you can see. We were kind of lit. Oh, baby, by the way, oh, that I will.
Do a little skip.
Tell me that I'll poop poop. No, at the end of the day. No, at the end of the day. Touch.
Doon, doon, doon.
Touch.
Doon, 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 doon. Doon, doon, doon. There's a seagull. Anyways, doon, 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 doon.
Touch. Now, sir? Today we decided to drive to New Hampshire, which is known for their vibrant fall foliage. But first, breakfast.
I got a cinnamon bun pancake with cream cheese icing. I could just feel the rolls coming in.
How you like it? I got the corned beef hash. But I'm gonna tell you this, it was trash.
I like it.
We got on the road and headed towards the New Hampshire border. The trees were unreal.
We're in Maine and we are driving to Conway, New Hampshire, day 3.
So many colors! Woo! Overwhelming! Yeah,
Maine, mate. Did you have fun?
Wow. That's what we recorded, huh?
We had such a good time looking at the trees that we ran out of sunlight. We had to drive back in a storm. It was terrifying.
We needed to eat after all of that, so we went to David's Steakhouse. We ordered open-faced lobster ravioli, which isn't ravioli at all. It was delicious though.
We also got Carpaccio GF Plus, which is some type of Caesar tenderloin with arugula, and of course, a cup of chowder.
Stripper activities.
We hopped on a food tour, which I didn't even know was a thing.
And this is a food tour where you're eating, okay? So, let's see. We covered the EpiPens. I don't have to stab anybody. Nobody's got any allergies. I like to have a cocktail at one place, appetizer at another place, entree at another place, dessert somewhere else, and then I'll have an after-dinner drink. That makes 5 restaurants in one meal. I'm in, okay?
What better way to explore a new city?
You got clam chowder. That's the best one. You got the seafood chowder. That's number 2.
We started off at Gilbert's Chowder House, which is known for, you guessed it, chowder. We sat with this random family. It was a fun time. We then headed over to a spot called Andy's. This is where the next tasting was.
This is Portland. This is where we're at. Some of the best gin you've ever had. A couple of gin places, a couple of other places, all walkable and all with tasting rooms.
We started with a beer tasting, and as you can see, Pat loved it. Then we tried some fish tacos made with haddock.
Tiffany haddock.
exactly the same right now as it did in the 70s.
We walked through this really nice area on the harbor and got a look at the everyday life of Portland.
We stopped by the water and were taught how to shuck fresh oysters.
Up right here. What you do when you pick an oyster is you knock them together, and you see how they sound like they're like they fell on the ground, like a stone. That means they're viable and good. When you hear one that sounds like this, yeah, see? Are you hiding already? Okay, would you like to try one? No. Because I picked a really small one for you. I am a purist, so I only like lemon on my oysters, all right? These are called Clearwater Coves, and they're from about 5 miles off the ocean. Very delicious. They have a lot of zinc and a lot of protein. It's the biggest one I have. I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that.
Shoot it.
It looks like an alien.
Hold on, let me get it.
Big old alien booger.
Swallow it.
His face was worse than yours.
Oh.
Was it good?
Now you guys gotta go have oysters, right?
Salty. Buggery. Like sausage.
Thank
It does, doesn't it? And there's no bacon in it.
We washed those down with some Vienna sausages for some reason.
Our next stop was Wharf Street, a lively brick-layered area with shops and restaurants. We headed into Rigby Yard, a local known spot known for their lobster rolls. You like it?
like candy.
The lobster out here is so good. Our last stop on the tour was Dean's Sweets, a chocolate shop that has the most gourmet flavors ever.
Hello. Oh, thank you so much. Good.
Not bad.
The food tour was fantastic. We got so many flavors of Maine in such a short amount of time.
Enter over the tombstone and give it
We had some time to kill before our flight home, so we went to Fort Williams Park to see one last lighthouse, the Portland Headlight.
Trying to play pickleball.
This was by far the most amazing lighthouse we've been to. It was right out of a screensaver.
Patrick walks like a soft pimp.
The walk down to the water was treacherous, but the views were worth it.
Mine. Oh, okay.
We explored the area around the lighthouse, which consisted of historical places and objects, as well as Fort Williams. We said goodbye to Portland and headed to the jetport. Until next time, keep your bags packed. All right, we are back in the We Trippin' headquarters. That was Maine.
Yes.
Can we just shout this out real quick?
It's so cool.
Shout out to Andrew and the Burbank Podcast Studios. This is a magnet. You guys have probably been seeing it since episode 1. Sometimes it spins, sometimes it doesn't. This is so hard to do.
But Andrew makes sure that he comes and gets it spinning for us, at least for the first half of the wrap-up.
It's just floating there with science.
It's
pretty
amazing.
crazy. I just want you guys to understand what's happening right here.
I gotta
and
give you
appreciate
credit
it.
too, because you found it. So
I did buy it, but if it were up to me, it would just be stuck on top. So shout out to science, shout out to Burbank Podcast Studios. Maine.
Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine. This was a very special trip to me.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, when I was a kid, I first saw that map in elementary school, all the other places in our country. The two things I was like, what's going on in Florida? What's going on in Maine?
So you like edges of the country, pretty much.
It was like the head of the U.S. and like the toe of the U.S.
Yeah. So what is California? The butt?
It's the booty cheeks.
It's the booty cheeks.
Booty cheeks.
Damn.
The rear. But we're also amazing. But yeah, I've always just wondered like what is going on in Maine. I figured that, it wasn't a very black place. From what I've heard about New England, that's where the first Americans were. Just a lot of like, not a lot of incentive for a black to go.
A huge part of my life, I just forgot about Maine.
You forgot?
It's so far northeast.
I always
that
wondered.
it's like kind of out of sight, out of mind. You don't really think about it. You don't really hear about it too much. So it's kind of like that whole like northeastern side, New England side, outside of Clam Chowder to me. Honestly, I hadn't really heard too much about Maine or what there is to do in Maine.
It was Clam Chowder and the Patriots. New England Patriots. Family Guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was like my peek into New England.
Mm-hmm.
But I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
The neighborhoods, all the brick and colonial architecture,
Mm-hmm.
super into the fact that the leaves change, which we don't really get a lot of in California.
Right.
It was really like a beautiful place. And the fact that we chose Portland, which is pretty much the same rules we used for Annapolis, Maryland, we found the main city, the
Right.
big city, had the most diversity, the most
capital, right?
tolerance. I believe so.
Yeah.
I was really amazed. I think we did a lot of fun stuff. This wasn't the most activity heavy location. This was very, very early in We Trippin'. This might have been like our third trip.
It was our third trip. And honestly, I mean, we were really excited about the food.
Yeah, the
So-
food. This was a food trip.
For sure.
This was a food trip. Before we were really getting super, super active on We Trippin', we were eating.
Definitely.
So let's go ahead and just jump into what we thought was the best eats in Portland, Maine. There was a lot, and it seemed like the lobster roll was king.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's where I like to start. Food.
Food.
Okay. So for me, David's Steakhouse.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, the open faced lobster ravioli.
which was basically lobster pasta.
Right.
I appreciate a good ravioli shape.
Mm-hmm.
So when I order ravioli, I kind of want to put the little envelope in my mouth.
Yeah, you wanna.
But that
you wanna
was
bite
just
through
that
it.
was just lobster pasta, but it was fantastic.
Oh, it was so buttery and just like moist, and the sauce was just succulent. It really did melt in your mouth, and it was so good. The lobster was so fresh.
It was good.
I've never had lobster that fresh.
The tenderloin was fire.
Mm-hmm.
The clam chowder was good there too.
Oh my
Although
God.
in Maine, we had clam chowder as much as we could.
Yes.
Because we were in New England.
Mm-hmm.
We were in California getting cans of New England clam chowder our whole lives. We wanted to
Right.
see the authentic version, and it delivered. It is
did.
so much better in actual New England. I was
Yeah.
very, very surprised. David's was okay though.
David's
I feel
clam
like
chowder was
we had
okay.
clam chowder a lot that trip, and David's was okay, but the chowder out there is worth it.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Food for me, we ate multiple versions of it, but I think that the Rigby version of the lobster roll was so good. This was towards the end of our food tour, and the food tour was a good time.
The food tour was great.
The food tour was a very,
They had
very
a
good
really
time.
good clam chowder too. I think it was on
Gilbert's.
Gilbert's.
Gilbert's,
Had
when
a-
we sat with the random Asian family. That was a great time.
Oh man, so
that was a
good.
great time.
They
I
were
felt
so
like we were-
fascinated with us.
Yeah, I really felt like we were getting the authentic Maine experience. But yeah, the chowder was really, really good. I would say that the lobster roll at Rigby's was probably my favorite, just because the lobster everywhere we ate was fire. But it was something about the bread at Rigby's. It was like this
It was
super,
like a
super.
Texas toast type.
Yeah, it was like super buttery, super toasty. That bread that when you eat it on a sandwich, you would be like, oh, I would eat this bread by itself.
Absolutely.
So that mixed in, but all the lobster rolls we had that trip
Little
was good.
garlic butter toast bread, but super thick. Yeah. And then when you bite it, you think that it's going to be hard because it's so thick, but then it's soft and crunchy. It's just
And we're used to all the imitation lobster out here. It might be a little chewy, and we accept it. But out there, you saw the claw. You were eating this,
yes,
eating the
Cooked
claw,
to
and
perfection.
it was so good.
yes.
The food was great. I mean, even between this and Maryland, New England, food-wise, I'm sold. Activity-wise, we were on our retirement home swag this time. We were doing a lot of little boat trips, car trips, really just taking in the city. We weren't doing a lot of like extreme anything.
Right.
you know?
It wasn't too activity heavy.
Yeah.
But we did get to see some of your favorite things in the world. Lighthouses.
A lot of
Why do you
people-
like lighthouses so
A
much?
lot of people don't know this about me. I am a lighthouse nerd.
Freak.
And it's not.
Sorry.
I mean, they're both offensive. But something about the design, like the designs of most lighthouses are so cool.
They are.
And it's never just like a basic building. And architecture is big for me. That's why I love traveling. When you travel, you get to see the older cities, the ones that aren't so modern. And the architecture is so dope. And the lighthouses out there were some that were like the Rams Island one that was made of stone. old
It's
as hell.
super unique.
So cool. And I really like how they look, and you guys will see later in the season when we go to Canada, we find a couple more lighthouses. That's like my thing.
Yeah, you've actually turned me on to them because, I mean, to be honest, before you said it was your thing, I hadn't really seen one outside
It's random,
of,
so you're
outside
like,
of
I
Long
didn't even really
Beach.
think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the one in Long Beach.
I like that one too.
Yeah, that one's really cool. But, you know, you just kind of like, you don't really think about it too much. But once I started paying attention to them, I'm like,
It's one of those random things.
These are really cool. So I actually found myself being excited about it.
I'm glad I wasn't just dragging you on one of the things I
No.
was nerding out on. But that actually just brings me right into my favorite activity, which was the lighthouse tour. The lighthouse tour, even though it was really cool going up to like the bug light, the headlight was probably my favorite lighthouse of the trip. But just getting on a boat, not only seeing like the beautiful water and all the boats and the harbor life of Portland, we got to see like all of them at once, and it was like my first time seeing them. I got to learn about them. There were forts and all this kind of stuff. So I think that was definitely my favorite. And then the icing on the cake was we had fire lobster rolls there too on the boat. I don't really trust cruise ship food like that, but they killed them. Though that was probably like the freshest version of a lobster roll we had out there.
It was so
even
good.
though I like the bread from Rigby's more. But yeah, that was
And
I
I was starving on that boat. So
Man, oh
y'all
my.
saw how I chomped down on that lobster roll. Do you remember all the lighthouses you saw?
Yep, there was the bug light. There was the spooky one. The spooky one that was like red. There was the Rams Island, which was the stone one, and then the Heads Light, which was the big one
headlight.
that had like I think that was the one we had like the photo ops at and all that. Yeah.
I think for activities, my favorite was actually a lighthouse. And
Okay.
it was the Spring Point Ledge.
That was the name of it.
Yes.
The spooky one.
Yes. It was so fun around there.
It was like Courage the Cowardly Dog. I just felt like some weird cartoon monster was going to pop out.
Yeah, we saw a hanging skeleton, for God's sake. So
Right.
that was, honestly, it was really cool. We saw those cannons. So
Maine wasn't to be trifled with. They were ready.
What else did we see? So when we walked over to the actual
It's like a little spooky,
lighthouse.
like climb up, and we had to go down the stairs. There was like the
it was
trees.
so forest. I felt like Alice in Wonderland.
It was
you know?
weird.
Like
It was definitely weird.
You always tend to pull me through something like really scary. Like
I didn't
this. And
force you to do that. We wanted to do
starting
it.
to notice this.
Wait. The treacherous part was going up to the lighthouse. There was, it said hazardous. There were waves that were crashing because it was a little later in the night. And, you know, when the sun goes down, the waves kind of act up. So there was just like this weird, like rocky path that like waves, like increasingly powerful waves were crashing against. And that's how you went to it. So I even was the one that said, let's not do that.
You halted
I'm
it
okay.
because
I'm not trying to get swept away.
I was turned up and I'm like, no, come on.
Fam.
And when I tell you I was stopped in my tracks once I saw the last step, and it was almost a little hop down to some unstable rocks.
Oh no, that was the blackest moment in We Trippin'. We said, oh, never mind. We just gonna hang out by these cannons.
Watch from afar. And so, yeah, we got a chance to be goofy around there and just have some fun. So and it was sunset. So during the sunset time, you just get to see the beauty of the colors.
The sky was insane. There was the cotton candy colors.
Oh, it was beautiful.
The Maine sunset was very, very, very memorable.
It was extremely beautiful. So each lighthouse that we visited made me a fan.
Yeah, it's a cool aesthetic. If you guys are in a town with lighthouses and you didn't care like that, pull up. Maybe you'll become a fan too. All right, well, let's get into this skin tuition because I feel like that's the biggest part of this. This was definitely a food trip.
Oh, meat and potatoes.
But a big part of the trip was like, should we go to Maine? Are there black people in Maine? How is it going to be? What was your skin tuition while visiting Portland?
I was just hoping to see more of us around, and we were sprinkled in there. We were little pepper flakes.
Yeah, very few and far between. They were cool though. All the black people we met are always cool. I don't know what it is.
Very cool, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt comfortable in Portland.
Portland Portland had Maine city vibes. I feel like like I said before, like the few black people we met were probably there on like a work trip or something, and they thought the same thing. Like I never knew what was going on in Maine, but it's pretty chill. We did go to a bar that had signage that was like, we don't serve Proud Boys, and we were like, okay, I've never even seen that sign before. We went in, we talked to the bartender, we were like, hey, what's going on with are there Proud Boys around here? And they're like, not typically, but there have been marches like the next city over pretty recently. So it was just a peek into a whole other culture where it's like, don't trip, you good, but there's some very, very age old American going on around here that might go left. So
it made me think there's some sundown towns around.
Oh, and there were. So I already know your skin tuition. Tell me about our trip to New Hampshire.
Oh, man. Okay, so our trip to New Hampshire, I was really excited about it because I'm like, ooh, we're venturing off to another state to see what they got around. I don't know what it was, but as soon as we crossed that state line into the city, the first city that was supposed to be really popular, it was just an overwhelming sense of uncomfortableness.
Them sundown towns.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. And so I know that, we stopped at a little restaurant, didn't really go in because I think they were closed, used the restroom, and I was just like, I'm not really feeling this too much. We're not staying here, so we got to drive back. It's going to be dark driving back. So I was terrified.
Well, I mean, I think that you kind of have to weigh the point of why you go like some places, because some places you go where it's just like, I'm going here to see this natural phenomenon. If you're going to one of the wonders of the world and it just happens, oh, there it happens. I'm glad we talked about it. The magnet. If you're going to a place that's a wonder of the world and that it just around there happens to be racist, you just got to put up with that to see that wonder of the world. So the point of us going was to see the leaves, and the leaves were fantastic. I would actually go back to New Hampshire. But I mean, there was a couple towns we drove through. There was like little like graveyards, because when there's like a really, really small town, they have their own graveyard, everything. So there was like the Police Lives Matter flags, one flag, American flag too many. When there's a lot of flags just representing different organizations, you'd be like, okay, it's a little weird. But just to be fair, California's the same way. When you leave the main cities, there's a lot of weird little small towns. So I don't want to say that New Hampshire's like that. I just want to say that our route to where we were going, it just felt a little weird. Now, if there was like a main city of New Hampshire, we might have another experience similar to Portland.
See, I don't have it. I don't have a full feel of New Hampshire. I just know.
Yeah, we went on the edge.
At the time when we first got there, that's how I felt. And then I knew we had to drive back, and it was getting late because we didn't start driving to New Hampshire until about 3 o'clock.
That was actually my second activity, because the trip up there was fun. The trip back was exciting because I was a passenger princess. She was driving. It was dark. It was raining. I was just like, oh, this is crazy. I was filming, so.
I was terrified. That was one of the worst drives I've ever driven in my life. It started raining. We were in the middle of the woods. Driving in New Hampshire.
It was fun, though.
Police Lives Matter flags.
It was fun, though.
And he was just loving it. And I'm over here like,
we made it. And then we went to the steakhouse, which was your favorite meal of the trip. All right.
I needed that, okay?
So, any travel hacks that you learned?
I would say on day one of your trip, you should book maybe some type of tour to go on for whatever your interests are. So if you're looking for food, we did the food tour. I think we did the food tour on the last day of the trip. But if you're going to do tours on day one, that really gives you a sense of where you want to go throughout the rest of your trip. Because you get like little samples of stuff everywhere you go, so you don't get to actually like fully dine into those places. So if you like the ambiance, you like the atmosphere, you like the food from the tours, you get to you get a little taste of it, so you can go back later for your trip and you know that these are the best places to go in the city. So
Yeah.
I found that to be very useful.
It's a cool little sample of the city, and there's different types of tours. It doesn't just have to be a city tour, which is probably the most boring version of a tour, just looking and pointing at stuff. There's food tours. We've been on ghost tours. We've been on like firework boat, what was it? The Niagara Falls tours. You could just look for like different types of tours that kind of like more pique your interest. And we found that the earlier we do that, the better our vacation is, because now it's like, oh, we had a sense of the city.
And if you let go of that, I don't think we tried to be cool at all in any of these trips.
Clearly.
So if you let go of the being cool, or I want to do things that only seem cool, you're gonna miss out on a lot of the aesthetics
Like
of the
a
city.
lighthouse tour.
All right.
I feel like my travel tip is to find a place that really represents that state in your mind. You know, our Airbnb was like right in the center of just like a regular residential neighborhood. It just felt like Maine to me. You know, we had like a upstairs rooftop patio where you can just see all the rooftops of all the other houses. And usually when we go to a place on We Trippin', we try to go for like luxury. We want to stay somewhere nice. And that sometimes doesn't give you like a authentic like experience in the city. So I felt like we were right in the middle of where everything was happening, just going to like a bar on a random night and seeing what hip hop night looks like in Portland, Maine on like a random Monday or something like that.
funny.
It was just such a great experience, and it was just so unique. So yeah.
Definitely the place we stayed was super, super different than what we're used to as far as size is concerned. The washers and dryers, the shower, like everything was just so different than what we're used to. The stairs were, I swear, the stairs
narrow.
were
like New York,
one
though.
of the narrowest stairs that I think I've gone up and down. I think in the video I go like this just to show you the width of the staircase, and I really enjoyed it. Because I haven't been in a place like that, so I'm glad we did do something that gave us a more comfortable feel, because it was very cozy and comfortable in the place that we stayed.
Yeah,
but it
for
also
sure.
had that pop of luxury with that rooftop.
Yeah. I think we did a good job at like finding a spot and kind of just experiencing Maine as a first timer. You know, obviously if we had like a local who could show us all the like the low key spots, you know, we would have a different experience. But I really enjoyed my first time in Maine, especially, you know, just always wondering like what the heck is going on out there.
Right.
It was surprisingly close to Family Guy.
Yeah.
But there you have it. I hope we inspired some black people to go and check it up out there. Be safe. But as always, I've been Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone.
Keep your bags packed. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
500 feet, 500 back.